Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we ended up finding the world that the Savant was on, and it turns out that the Savant is a tech priest. Whether or not he's still officially with the Adeptus Mechanicus, I don't know, but he was spending his, apparently decades, trying to figure out a way to control the Tyranids through essentially an emulated synapse, my bad, not a weird pronunciation there, but trying to do an emulated version. And by stumbling upon it, he decided to use me as a experiment, or a guinea pig to test if I can survive against them, I guess. And we got out of there, got some information, and now we get to go back down and capture the Savant.
I must reach the inner sanctum of this facility.
Considering the nature of the Savant's experiments, I would be very grateful for some pictographs if you find some of his devices.
I don't think this will be a peaceful stroll into his sanctum.
Oh, that's a nice gouge that lines up with the steam vent. The thing I find kind of funny is this all kind of fits within the MO of the Adeptus Mechanicus. You know, I can definitely imagine tech priests being sanctioned to do similar experiments. Their own worship of the Omnissiah is kind of that, plus the fact that they've stripped out most of what makes them human, leads to this very obvious emotional disconnect. And in some of the books and stuff, they don't even show emotion.
Avoid these treacherous rebels only for smuggling, but he has an entire cohort of them as a private army.
And it makes sense to study this stuff. I mean, where else do you have a good test bed than a world under quarantine because of Tyranids?
That is interesting. The Savant sent an expedition to a former Fabricatus world and encountered the Eldari from the craft world Tuathal.
Inquisitor! Spare our lives! We surrender! We have been tricked!
I am aware that you have been led astray by an indoctrinated tech priest of the Imperium.
And Puritan!
Once a traitor, always a traitor. This has to be done.
You know, this kind of reminds me of, like, Stalinist purges, which is a weird segue, but just with how the Inquisition and the Empire as a whole is like, oh, if we have any reason to suspect you of something, there's a good chance we're just going to kill you off anyways. And I mean, that's kind of what happened in Russia, and honestly a lot of communist countries.
Intrusion, extremely inconvenient. I must warn you to leave immediately.
This is your last chance to surrender. Cooperation might still save your life.
My orders will not permit that. Defense protocols activated.
Is that
But it's interesting just because it's portrayed as this good thing, like, oh, you're removing potential heresy and stuff, but you know, those troops back there. Oh, we were tricked. They could have been. You know, hired on, said, hey...
Various threats, but I didn't expect to fight adept as Mechanicus battle automata.
Destroying these ancient machines feels like suffering. We need to initiate canticles of penitence to the machine god.
You know, it's... Those guys could have actually been tricked. They could have been paid. They could have... There's a number of ways they could have been brought in. And it's very well they could have left the Imperial Guard and been like, hey, you know, I still want to work in the military, contractors and such. And you have this... this tech priest is like, hey, you know, why don't you come help a servant of the Imperium? And they're like, oh, hey, maybe I can make up for something, or I can just continue helping the Imperium. They join up, and turns out, oh, actually, it's all a lie. God, these guys are tanky. Because they're heavy armor, they don't get all the stacks that they could, which makes this real inconvenient. Yeah, those guys went down faster with this rifle, with the needler rifle, than the plasma gun. Interesting. Don't know why, because the plasma gun should have done better against armor. But it might be just damage per second combined with damage over time. Look at these people in tubes. That's a skeleton. Manacled and in tubes. That's one of the things that's kind of funny too, is with 40K in the whole Grimdark, no one is good. You know, the Empire's trying to preserve humanity.
I understand you, Inquisitor. The thirst for knowledge is what is driving you into danger. You of all people can't blame me for craving knowledge. The long and arduous study of Xenos relics gave me extremely valuable notions that a machine could turn the Xenos into useful weapons for the Imperium. I have failed to construct a functioning prototype, but I could be so close.
But, yeah, just everybody sucks to some degree. You know, trying to preserve humanity with the Empire, but they aren't all too good with their theocracy that they've created. You have, you know, the Space Marines, who were created... The Primarchs were the Emperor's children, effectively, but then the Space Marines themselves were just tools. The Emperor didn't care about them. And that's a pretty interesting thing to consider, is just the Emperor's lack of interest in the actual Space Marines. The fact that he effectively created soldiers, and depending on the lore, because some of it varies, but the idea is that the reason there are no female Space Marines, one part is that this way they can't breed. They can't overtake the people they're meant to defend. And so the Emperor created these super soldiers who are effectively just subservient to humanity. So you can't blame some of those Space Marines when they go rogue, realizing, you know, they're just around to serve. And is it really right to be brought up in that way of just being subservient to someone else when you're kind of the superior species. I mean, you look at Space Marines, between like the Susan membrane and just their longevity and their durability, humans are pretty flimsy. It wouldn't be surprising if some of them were resentful of the fact they have to help humanity. Now, does it mean they have to full-on fall to chaos? No. That's, the extreme option that isn't really that good because you're trading one master for another. But that said, their fate's understandable. Got little meat cleavers looking like a weird deli. I'll take a pound of the termagant. Make sure it's thin sliced.
You might find it difficult to believe me, Inquisitor, but I truly don't want to kill you. But now you leave me no choice.
Alright, let's bait everybody together. Oh yeah, these laser gates are down too. It's kind of interesting because the only species that really live free, to my knowledge, are the Eldar and the Orcs. The Eldar are free because, they're a dying species. It's not a good fate, but they aren't horrendously bound to, a military or anything like that. They're just kind of struggling to survive, and the Orcs they exist to fight. So, they fly around through space in meteors with jet boosters on them, crash into something, do what they do. Everybody else has weird hang-ups, or they're subservient to something that doesn't care about them. Or in the case of the Empire, it's just things got way out of hand. Which kind of brings the bit of, Alpha Legion into the question. Because it's always the meme of, are they loyal or not? And they kind of are and aren't. Because it seems like they understand what the Emperor wanted back in the day. And they kind of are still loyal.
You are unstoppable! I didn't want to resort to bleeding. I've only been following orders from the upper echelons of Forge Well Fuel.
And I honestly think the best way to describe Alpha Legion is a group that still follows the Emperor, and then a lot of other members who just get lost along the way. Some end up breeding resentment, some think they're doing the right thing when it's just doing absolutely the wrong thing. Just kind of getting caught up in things they don't fully understand or fully can control. And even the ones who would use demons and such, they're not that different from some Inquisitors that use demon hosts. There are groups of Inquisitors who think, oh, we should fight fire with fire. It's not that different. I mean, you look at the Primarch of Raven Guard. He's literally corrupted by the warp now. He went into the Eye of Terror and has been hunting Chaos Space Marines. And he's now, based on the lore that I know of, he's pretty much this black amorphous monster still fighting all this time. And I mean, you have the fact that some of the living saints are affected by their connection to the warp. So they're, to a degree, effectively chaos demons, but for good. Which I had mentioned a while back, but it kind of makes the question of, are there good things in the warp? You know, are there potentially chaos gods being, I mean, not really chaos gods, but order gods? And the only problem is they either are killed off before they can achieve enough power, or they're hiding. Because it seems like, because Psychers use the warp, it seems like the warp is a neutral construct. It's merely the inhabitants of the warp that their actions make it so it's associated with evil. Honestly, that'd be a really cool...
Door is locked, but your Inquisitorial override code will grant you access.
That'd be a really cool, like, wrench to throw in everything. I know that Games Workshop wouldn't, but to introduce these forces of order. You know, suddenly you have order demons. You could have these existing living saints effectively ascend past just being living saints and being gods of the war. Such a fate would likely result in a big religious schism within the Empire, making the Age of Apostasy seem like it's just a minor scuffle. But it'd be interesting. But I think it'd be too much of a deviation from Games Workshop's formula. And while I think it would be cool, I don't know how other people would take to it. You know, does it disrupt the grimdark of it if you add just that faint dash of hope?
Inquisitor, you have victoriously overcome all the obstacles I placed in your way. I am humbled, but also amused.
I don't come here to judge you for your sins, but you have left me no choice.
I have been following the orders of my Fabricator General. This is a secret research sanctum preparing for the return of the High Fleet. It was all classified.
Or is that what you want me to believe?
Is there any way I can convince you that I am a loyal Imperial subject?
We will see. I seek an ancient Xenos relic once crafted by the extinct Fabricatus race.
That is a relief, because I can help you with that. The Xenotech relics of the Fabricators has been an obsession of mine for a long time.
And financing your heretical experiments by smuggling Xenos relics was just a coincidence.
Pursuing my work requires resources.
I need a particular artifact from their long-lost homeworld, but I don't know where it is.
I have that information, which I obtained in unfortunate circumstances. I sent an expedition there once, but they encountered the Eldari and quickly met their demise.
And what happened after that?
Why do you think I'm hiding in the middle of a tyrannid-infested planet? The Eldar may look like fools, but they are dangerous.
This is such a stupid morality bit, because it doesn't even... It's so dumb, because he's like, how can I prove I'm a loyal citizen of the Empire? And she's just like, well, how do I know that? You don't. You don't know. You don't know if this is all the order of the Fabricator General. The fact of the matter is, it makes sense. This is a black site. I'm gonna pick the morality choice, the Puritan, because I'm a douche, but it's so stupid because, like, that is literally... I hate it so much just because I think it's such a stupid bit. The Inquisition, who runs black sites, is suddenly all, like, butt frustrated. Oh my god. The tech priests have a black site? Yes, they have a black site. Because if they flat out said, hey, we're studying Tyranids, Ordo Xenos and Ordo Malleus would fudge their huggies and come screaming in on their ships to nuke the planet. Because they're stupid. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.